I want to talk to you today about the good times. And I know we all have them, and remembering the good times. I was actually going to do a video. I was going to do two videos. I was going to do one talking about the worst time of our estrangement. And then I was going to do another video talking about the best times that we had before the estrangement with our children. But I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. Why bring up the worst times? I don't think it's helpful. I think we all have that, and this channel, I want it to be about uplifting us and moving forward and getting on with our lives. So I decided to just talk about the good times. And honestly, for me, this might be even harder for me to talk about. It's bittersweet for sure, but I think it's important. I did make a few notes, so forgive me if I look down. I'll be looking at my notes. The thing of it is, they can't take away our memories, We need to remember, and I believe this is for the majority of us, that we know we were loved. We were loved by our adult children. We remember that. We remember when it was never even an issue. We were the parent, we were the mother, we were the father. And if they were hurt, they came crying to us to make it better. And maybe on Mother's Day or our birthday, they did something really nice for us. And we remember that. And we never questioned that we were loved. We didn't imagine it. We knew we were loved. And that's what's so confusing maybe for today, the way things are for most of us, is that we know we were loved. And I think it's important to remember that because, I did the video on the reimagining of their childhood. And I know back in the day when I was fighting with my son, we were arguing, I was trying to stand up for myself over and over again. He wouldn't want to talk about any good times. And if I brought up something, he'd say, I don't remember that. I don't remember that. And I don't think it was true because he wasn't real young. I think he just didn't want to remember it for his own personal reasons. And that hurt. I'm not going to lie. That did hurt me too. That he would dismiss it and say that he didn't remember it. But again, I know what happened. So I'm going to talk about just something that, stuck in my head. It stuck in my head. It was actually, there were a few things he did that were really, really nice. But one of them was, as he was growing up, maybe 12, we had an old-fashioned console TV, with the wood frame. It was like a big piece of furniture, and the picture tube was inside of it, and it was as wide. We all do remember that. I'm old enough. I remember that, and I know a lot of you do too. And they were quite nice, actually, and I had gotten it, I believe, from my mom, and it worked. Number one, it was extremely heavy, and I was a single parent, and the complex that we lived in, they frowned upon asking the maintenance people to do anything that was more personal. And I couldn't ask my son. He was only a kid, and he didn't have his muscles yet. You know what I mean? He just didn't. So, long story short, we had that TV, and then it kind of conked out on us. So, I don't know how many of you remember Ames department store, Ames. It was actually going out of business in our town. So I went running to Ames and we got a thinner TV. They weren't as thin as they are today, but they were thinning out and they weren't having the wood around it. So it was a nice TV. It was modern, for that time. So we brought it home. I had no place to put it. So consequently, I put it on top of the console TV that was conked out. And there it sat. And, I know it was silly, but I was working full time. My son had, school and activities. And like I said, he wasn't, he didn't have his muscles yet. So about 3 years later, that TV sat there for about 3 years. He was about 15, and he had gotten some muscles. And my birthday was coming up. And I didn't know what he was going to do, and I had to work that day. And I'll be honest, he'd always say, happy birthday or whatever, but I didn't always get a present, especially in the teen years. But like I said, he was about 15, and he had his friend over. I was working. I came home from work on my birthday, and I walk into the living room, and his friend's sitting on the couch, but the TV, the console, was gone, and he was literally putting together an entertainment table for the TV. And it was nice. And, it was one of those you put together. Everything nowadays you seem like you have to put together. But this was put together too. And he had the tools out, and it was practically all together. And I was shocked. And I was so happy. And it was such a sweet thing to do. And he really, I could hear him like, you said you were going to help me. But his friend pretty much, I don't think, helped him all that much. Maybe to carry out the console. I just never forgot that. I just thought it was so sweet and very nice, and I don't know. That was one of the nice surprise that I got for my birthday. And so I know there were good times, there were good times. There were a lot of good times. And his friends spent a lot of time at our house. His friends liked me, and I'd come home from work, and sometimes I'd have 3 or 4, teenage boys in my living room, and consequently I'd order some Chinese food, or I'd order a couple of pizzas, and, we'd all eat together. Or pretty much the boys went up into my son's room, or they went outside depending on the weather. But his friends liked me. It wasn't like, we don't want to go over your house, or I was glad that they felt comfortable over our house. So one of the last really nice things that my son did for me was when COVID started. It was March of 2020, and nobody really knew what was going on. Everybody was scared, and grocery stores were running out of pretty much everything, including toilet paper. My son called me up, and at the time I was living about 25-30 minutes away, and he said, I'm going to the store. Why don't you come with me to the grocery store? Now, I was still on Social Security, and I said, well, I really don't have any money right now. He said, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'll pay for it. Just come with me to the grocery store because they're running out of stuff. And I said, yeah, I heard that. I said, okay. So he picked me up, and we went to the grocery store, and I'll never forget that day. We shopped together, and it was one of the few times that his girlfriend wasn't with him. She was home with the kids, and it was just me and him. And it was kind of nice. We spent That was really the first time we had spent any time together alone in years, Certainly not since I had been up, back up north from moving from Florida. So it was a weird day. It was, everybody looked nervous, and we shopped, and, I told him I'd pay him back, which I did. And he said, buy whatever you need. Just buy it, because we don't know when we're going to go again. And I said, okay. And usually, and that was really the last time I actually saw him. It was. We came back. He came in my house to use the bathroom. He washed his hands, and out he went. And COVID hit hard, and I understood not seeing him for, months. But I never really did see him again. I saw him for 10 minutes a couple of years later after that day. And it didn't go well. And I haven't seen him since. So I remember that day, and I have, silly, but I still have the receipt from that store. It was up north. The store was called Market Basket. And I still have that receipt, because I remember that was like the last nice thing, and no bad words were said, no fighting, no nothing. It was just nice. And I don't know, he was an adult by then, but it was just nice. And so I think it's important that we hold on to those memories. And I am forever hopeful. I have my Christmas mug here today because it's still July, and apparently it's Christmas in July. So apparently it's Halloween a lot of places too this month. Summerween, I think they call it. I don't know. It's kind of fun, but anywho, I wanted to do this video. It's been a little hard for me to do, but I'm glad that I have those memories, and I know that you have them too. And nobody can take them away from you. Nobody, including your adult children. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up, and please give this video a thumbs up if you want to see more videos, and please subscribe. It's free. And I love you all, and I'm thankful for all of you. And please continue to leave me comments. I enjoy them, and it gives me good ideas for more videos. And do something nice for yourself this weekend, because you deserve it. And I will see you in my next one. Take care, and God bless.